Понятно. Сейчас, видео. Добрий день. Дуже приємно. Я не чую нічого. Вони кажуть, може звуку нема. Напевно, звуку нема.
Добрий день, пані Аліна.
Добрий день, пані Вікторія. Я написала,
Да,
отримала.
так.
Сподіваюся, що все буде добре. Бо
Добре, обов'язково, все буде відмінно.
знаєте, я не дуже досвідчена у плані форс-мажору, але
Ну, буває,
переплутав.
путав годину.
Я їм вчора нагадала агенту. Спромагалася подзвонити по цьому номеру, але чогось воно не дуже хоче поєднувати. В мене не було номеру. З Г'ю був номер, слава Богу. WhatsApp був. А з цим є лише зв'язок імейл. Ну, от він відповів, що окей. Тому я думаю, що повинен з'явитись.
Вітаю.
Доброго вечора, пані.
Добрий день, Олена Сергіївна. Дякую вам. Пані Вікторія, ну сподіваюся, що буде.
Ну, наразі ще
Чи
очікуємо.
немає? Але він з'являвся ж так годину по тому, так ви бачили, що був? Угу.
Пару хвилин.
Потім він переплутав, ну я писала все, чекаємо, не відповів окей, тобто думаю, що повинен бути. Зараз вже час. Сподіваюся, що з'явиться. Немає доки?
Ще ні, чекаю.
Угу.
Додаю Браяна Фоґеля.
Скільки відсотків?
Є?
Так.
Hi,
Dear Brian, thank you so much. You're so welcome. Thank you for being with us today.
my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
How is everyone? It's pouring rain here in Los
Yes.
Angeles.
So happy to see you. So happy to see our students are all here. If you permit, this is our University Public Relations Center, Pani Victoria. She is giving all organizational and technical support for this event. We're so grateful you're with us today.
Well, happy to be with you and participate.
Pani Victoria, shall I start?
Yes, we shall start. Thank you for your attention.
Пані Вікторія, чи мені розпочати?
Так.
Дуже дякую вам. Dear Brian, dear guests, let us start our today's meeting. We are so happy to welcome dear Brаян Фоґелем at Vasil Karazin Kharkiv University today. Today we have a very special guest, a great friend of Ukraine, a speaker for truth, a speaker for human rights, an Oscar-winning film director, a producer, an author, and a playwright. Mr. Foghel's great spirit, his noble heart, his courage, all contribute him to calling as Elizabethan Kharkivite. And his documentary film, Icarus, won the Academy Award for the Best Documentary Film in the 19th Academy Award in 2018. This great film helped to uncover the Russian doping scandal that led to Russia's exclusion from the 2018 Winter Olympic Games. Our dear guest documentary film, Dissident, won the Writers Guild of America's 73rd Writers Guild Award in 2020. Throughout this year, the year of war for Ukraine, our dear guest expressed his unwavering support of Ukraine, his solidarity with the Ukrainian people against Russian aggression. He kindly shared his plans to create a large-scale film about the tragic events that became on the 24th of February, 2022 in our country with the office of our dear president, where his idea was so much encouraged. A huge warm heart, a wise word, a firm belief in Ukrainian victory, and a promise of wonderful future for Ukrainians. All of that will be presented today by our dear guest to this courageous Karazin students audience. Today, our dear guest is addressing our public, our Karazin educational and academic authority with the words, "My heart breaks for Ukraine." Dear Brian, you're so welcome. I'm so happy to step down in favor of our dear Vice Rector, Boris Vadimovich Samorodov, Doctor of Economics, Professor, Academician of the Academy of Economic Sciences of Ukraine. With his welcoming words, we are forever grateful to Boris Vadimovich for his constant support and time that he finds for us. And a little reminder, please, the recording of this lecture is strictly limited to university use and is not to be reproduced in any social network, YouTube, or any other networks. Thank you very much for your kind understanding. Dear Boris Vadimovich, you are so welcome. Thank you so much. Борис Вадимович, прошу вас, ми дуже вдячні, це честь для нас.
Thank you
Дякую
very
вам.
much, dear Lina.
Thank you, Boris Vladimirovich.
Dear Mr. Foґель, dear students, dear friends, the best greetings from Kharkiv city of Ukraine, and I would like to greet you all on behalf of Karazin University community and our rector, Professor Tatiana Kaganovska. Thank you, Brian, for your position to support Ukraine. We know this for sure, that besides fighting the battlefield, it is also extremely important to win the information war, to document the crimes committed by Russia and to save the truth for ourselves and our children. I watched your film Icarus when the war was already going on, and I really had such a thought that it would be wonderful if you could film a new documentary about the events in Ukraine. And I was really impressed and happy when I heard the news that you are really going to do this. Thank you for being with us today, and we really hope to meet in your person in our university, maybe even as a part of your work on your future film about the war in Ukraine. Ukraine in the heart of Karazin University. Glory to Ukraine. Thank you very much. Thank you for all. And I wish this election will be very important or very interesting for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Boris Vadimovich, for
My
your
pleasure.
kind words. Thank you, dear Brian. It's a great honor to welcome your speech, your fantastic lecture today. We are immensely proud. Would you please, if I can kindly offer you the floor? We are most grateful and honored to be your audience today.
Well, thank you. I think it's helpful for me to field questions from your students and the students as to how I can be of help. You know, my journey into making film has been a very strange and long one. I'm from Colorado, here in the United States. I didn't grow up in Hollywood or in that business. I moved out to Los Angeles when I was about 22, 23 years old, and I started pursuing comedy and acting and writing. And over the next several years, that would lead me into playwriting. And I wrote a play in 2003 that would become a pretty big hit here in the United States. And we played in New York off Broadway for 3.5 years. I did a book, I toured with it, and in 2014, and I had done my first movie before that, a comedy. I came up with the idea for what would become Icarus, which was my first documentary film. And that story, which if you've all seen the film, 3.5 years later would lead to you know, winning the Academy Award in 2018. And also the story that of Icarus would help to lead to Russia's suspension from the Olympic Games, even though many athletes were still allowed and are allowed to compete, and the Russian doping scandal. I then did a film called The Dissident on the murder of Jamal Khashoggi in 2020 that I think many of you have seen. And then I just finished a follow-up to Icarus called Icarus Aftermath that follows the story of Dr. Gregory Rodchenkov, who fled Russia after he exposed the doping scandal, or actually before he exposed the doping scandal, and now lives in hiding under protection in the United States. And the story is what happens to whistleblowers if you take on Putin's government in Russia. I did travel to Ukraine. I spent almost a month in Ukraine this last September and the beginning of October. I had come and had met with President Zelensky and with members of his office, Andrei Yermak, and it would been my intention to make a film about President Zelensky and the war, and logistically it was too difficult for me to do. The day that I left Ukraine was the day that missiles and drones had hit Kyiv again for the first time since the war, and there was a missile that hit about 500 meters from the Hyatt Regency where I was staying in Kyiv, and the president's office felt that it would be best that I go. It was just too difficult for them to try to worry about me being there, worry about trying to protect me, and for the president to participate in the film that I wanted to make. So, you know, sadly, as of right now, I'm not going to be making that film, but I did spend quite a bit of time in Kyiv, and went and toured Bucha and other areas of the country where, you know, to see the damage from war. I'm deeply aware of what's going on, and so thank you for having me today. I think the question for all of you is how can I be helpful, and wondering how everyone is doing. You know, when I was in Ukraine back in October, and the talk amongst the government was that I think everyone believed that the war would be ending in the spring about this time, and that was at least my feeling too, talking to the president's office and Andrei Yermak and others, and so it's very upsetting to see that the war is continuing, where there doesn't appear to be an end in sight. Is everyone in your class making film? What is the focus of the class?
Dear Brian, thank you so much. Would you kindly permit to summarize what you've said in Ukrainian? I promise to be very quick.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Шановна каразінська спільнота, якщо ви дозволите мені, то я дуже швидко підсумую те, що шановний пан Фоґель надав у своєму привітному слові, і хочу трошечки нагадати вам, що він народився у Колорадо і розпочав свою режисерську і діяльність, і також діяльність сценариста згодом у Лос-Анджелесі, коли йому було 22-23 роки. Він займався написанням сценаріїв, він займався акторською діяльністю, він знімав стрічки, і у 2003 році він створив свою першу п'єсу, яка мала незмінний успіх у штаті Нью-Йорк, вона йшла на Бродвеї, і згодом, як ви всі знаєте, у 2014 році він приступив до створення своєї кінострічки «Ікар», яка висвітлювала допінгову історію, і спочатку вона була створена як окрема стрічка, а згодом вона послугувала також як доказ, документальний доказ того, що, звичайно, як ми всі з вами знаємо, було дуже відомою історією, яка висвітлювала момент відсторонення російської спортивної збірної від Олімпійських ігор через те, що вони були звинувачені у прийнятті допінгу. І кінострічка Браяна Фоґеля слугувала дуже-дуже великим доказом у цьому розслідуванні. Надалі Браян створив свій наступний фільм «Дисидент». Після того був створений ще один фільм, який висвітлював долю біохіміка, керівника російської лабораторії Родченкова, який був змушений, зробивши зізнання щодо допінгової російської діяльності, отримати прихисток у Сполучених Штатах і досі знаходиться там під захистом цієї країни. І, звичайно, Браян Фоґель не міг залишити осторонь від тих подій, що розпочалися в нашій країні, від цієї агресії. І у вересні, а також трошечки у жовтні цього року, минулого року, він відвідав Київ, де спілкувався з нашим президентом, з нашим урядом, з паном Андрієм Єрмаком, і мав за план створити стрічку, яка б була присвячена Україні. Так сталося, що саме під цей час, саме у цей період, Київ було повторно атаковано ракетами, дронами. Це сталося за 500 метрів від того місця, де знаходився шановний пан Фоґель. Наразі цю роботу трошки призупинено, але пан Фоґель, тим не менш, відвідав усі райони України, усі міста, які були варварськи атаковані, і хоче спитати нашу спільноту, чим він передусім може допомогти нашому університету, чим він може зарадити, яким чином він може сприяти нашій перемозі. І каже про те, що коли він був у Києві восени, він, як і наш уряд, звичайно, і усі українці сподівалися, що перемога дуже швидко настане. Звичайно, це дуже трагічно для нього, що вона ще не настала, але він хоче допомогти так, як він може, і також питає, яка у нашої шановної аудиторії є зацікавленість до його фільмів, до процесу створення фільмів, і чи може хто цим займається. І, будь ласка, пропонує перейти до запитань. Тому дуже прошу вас, шановна публіка, каразінська спільнота, якщо у вас є запитання, будь ласка, ви можете їх поставити і розпочати наш діалог. Dear Brian, thank you so much. I've just summarized what you've said and told the public that their questions are very welcome. We've got Christina Trutch, who is willing to put her first question with your kind permission.
Okay.
First of all, I'm really grateful for your lecture. Thank you so much. I have two questions. The first question, I watched the documentary film Icarus, and I want to know your personal opinion. In the modern world, with modern technology, in the field of medicine, the highest scoring athlete can do without doping or not? And the second question about the film The Dissident, what do you think? The international descent is the point of view of a certain people who lives in the modern world? Or is this point of view of the people controlled by world politics?
Well, I think, you know, in the case of Icarus and the Russian doping scandal, I think it's hard to know. You know, I think the overall is it's hard to know who's cheating and who's not cheating, right? If especially if a government is helping their athletes cheat. So you know, I think the takeaway from the film is that you don't know, and that especially with the help of a government, it's a lot easier to get away with it. I believe that there was changes to Russia's anti-doping system after the film and after you know, their suspension and sanctions, but I don't believe that system has entirely changed. In the follow-up film that I just completed months ago, Icarus Aftermath, it shows that, you know, there continues to be corruption within the system. One story that I found was so interesting, but I chose not to include it in the film because I wasn't able to prove the allegations, as Dr. Rodchenkov had told me, that during the Sochi Olympics and other competitions, that he had been asked to make it look like Ukrainian athletes had been doping because Russia had control of the laboratory tests, as you see in the film, during the Sochi Olympics and other events that were being held in Russia. And so he was asked a few different times by the Russian ministry to take a Ukrainian doping sample and make it positive by, you know, opening the bottles and putting steroids into the urine to make it look like a Ukrainian athlete had cheated when they hadn't. And Gregory told me that he refused to do that. But I think it's, you know, it speaks to the extent that, you know, even those years ago, that the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and that they would even bring that into the sporting system to encourage Dr. Rodchenkov at that time to make a Ukrainian athlete look like he had taken doping substances, or she, even when they hadn't. But I think it's hard to speak to the overall system. I think it's based on the athlete, and of course, as you see in the film, the testing system itself. In regards to the dissident, my goal really was to show this very particular story, and that in Saudi Arabia, freedom of speech is a very difficult thing, and to shine light on that particular story and what had happened to Jamal Khashoggi and others that have tried to speak out against the government. But I think, with the dissident, it mirrors so much of what's, also happening in other parts of the world. I mean, I think the same can be said for those, in Russia that don't support, Putin's war of aggression, right? I mean, it's there isn't much place for those that disagree, and that's certainly the case of the dissident, and I think certainly the case of what is happening with the Russian-Ukrainian conflict.
Dear Brian, thank you very much for your answer. If you kindly permit, I will very shortly translate into Ukrainian. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Шановна карозінська спільнота, наша Христинка задала запитання і спитала, чи можливо існувати наразі у світі спортсмену без додаткової допомоги, медичної допомоги, біохімічної допомоги у вигляді допінгу, яка точка зору пана Браяна Фоґеля, він також є велосипедистом і спортсменом, на це питання, і Браян Фоґель відповідає, що, звичайно, в принципі, дуже важко існувати у світі, коли уряд, як це було і з російським урядом, для спортсменів стимулює таку ситуацію і навіть допомагає деяким спортсменам сховати ці дуже неприємні і негативні факти. Що стосується надалі розвитку цієї ситуації у світі, його наступний фільм, його стрічка Aftermath продовжує стверджувати і вказувати на корумпованість цієї спортивної системи, насамперед у Росії. І потрібно сказати, що він робив іще один фільм, але, на жаль, до цього фільму не може увійти та історія, про яку йому розповів доктор Родченков, голова у минулому російської медичної лабораторії, яка займалася саме підготовкою таких спортсменів і цією діяльністю. Браян Фоґель не міг вставити цю історію у свій фільм, оскільки він не знайшов достатніх доказів для неї, але ця історія, за словами Григорія Родченкова, складається у тому, що під час Олімпіади, під час Олімпійських ігор у Сочі у 2014 році до нього звертався російський уряд із проханням створити навмисно незаконним шляхом позитивну пробу для українських спортсменів, тобто надати спеціально певний допінг до тих зразків спортсменів українських, які його не мали, щоб вони виявилися нібито позитивними. Ось про це йому розповів Григорій Родченков. Але, на жаль, Браян не зміг вставити цю історію до цього фільму. Також Браян Фоґель каже про те, що ця система тестінг абсолютно не ідеальна. Ця система перевірки має дуже багато недоліків, її потрібно вдосконалювати. І, звичайно, переходячи до свого другого фільму «Дисидент», він каже про те, як важливо відстоювати у державі свободу мовлення, і як це було важко робити у Саудівській Аравії, що це дуже кривава історія для тих, хто говорить проти тоталітаризму, проти тоталітарного уряду, і те саме наразі ми можемо спостерігати у Росії. Дуже дякую за ваше запитання, пані Христино. Dear Brian, thank you so much for your fantastic answer. Maybe we've got some more people. We've got Katerina Memchenko. Катерина, пані Катерина, будь ласка, ми запрошуємо вас до запитання. Дякую вам.
Hello, dear guest, and hello, dear Brian. Thank you so much for your information. My name is Katerina Nemchenko. I study international relations, but when I was in Ukraine, I played in the theater for 3 years. Like, it was like my hobby, and I still interested in acting. Recently, with my friend, we made like actress business card, and I want still learn it. It is a very interesting sphere to me, and my questions are like, how to become an actor? What can you suggest? What to start? And personal question: how did you come up with idea that you want to be a director?
Well, the question on the acting journey, I think, is a complicated one, because you know, I think it comes from opportunity, right, and being able to have your work seen. So, I mean, I think the best thing you can do in that regard, if that's the pursuit that you want to follow, is you have to find ways to have your work seen, whether that's in the theater, whether that's in short film, whether that's in film, whether that's by creating something for yourself and putting it on YouTube or TikTok, or, you know, any platform that your work can be seen, I think is ultimately the path forward. You know, of course, you know, your president was an actor for many years before he was president, and one of my incredible friends directed him in 10 movies, but you know, I know, you know, your president's journey came from theater and doing comedy, and that turned into doing films, and those films became incredibly popular in Russia and Ukraine. And then, of course, his television show where he played a president, and, you know, and ultimately becoming the president, and his journey. So, I mean, I think if you look at your own president, his path in life certainly worked, which was, you know, he started in theater, he did comedy, he found his way into movies, found his way into television, and then, you know, politics. But I don't think that there is any easy answer. I do think that it really helps to be in big cities, you know, which obviously Kyiv is probably the best place in Ukraine to be working, to try to make it as an actor. You know, before the war, I know, you know, so many Ukrainians would go to Moscow because of the film industry there. But you know, also looking at where you can have opportunities internationally, and I think probably the easiest place, you know, if you're Ukrainian right now, is London, because you know, most of the work in the business, of course, is in the English language, and there's been so many you know, Russian or Ukrainian actors that are able to cross over in English speaking roles, which is unfortunate, but that is, you know, at least on the international stage, that's a good journey. So I don't know if that's the advice that you're looking for, but that's how I would see it. And your second question was how I got into directing, or why did I want to be a director?
Yeah, like why?
Well, I spent many years trying to make it as an actor, and then my journey was writing material for myself to star in, to be in, and that journey allowed me to create a play for myself, and then I was working in the theater every night for 3.5, 4 years during that time. And during that time, I also kind of realized that I didn't really want to act, not because I didn't love it, but because I wanted to be on a path that I would have more control for myself. And in directing, I found that I was the boss or in control, you know, rather than somebody needing to audition and seek the validation of others to have a job. And so I gravitated towards directing from a creative point of view, but more from the point of view that I was able to create opportunities for myself rather than needing others to tell me that I was okay so that I could work. And so that for me is how I got into that path. Really was coming from a place of wanting to take more control of my career. And I think, you know, you see a lot of people in the entertainment industry that write, that direct, sometimes, you know, star. And, you know, if you look at your president, right? I mean, he wrote projects for himself to be in. In many of those cases, he would produce those projects or direct those projects also, and then act in those projects. So if you look at your president and the model that he followed, I think it's really the best path to take control of your career, where, you know, President Zelensky wasn't waiting for someone to give him a job. He created his own work on his ideas, his writing. Ultimately, you know, he even directed and produced and would star in his in the shows that he was doing. And so, you know, that to me was why I gravitated towards directing away from acting, was I wanted to have more creative control and be better able to choose what I was working on.
Dear Brian, thank you so much. Dear Katerina, thank you so much. If you kindly permit, I will very quickly translate to the audience everything that was so kindly answered. Шановна каразінська спільнота, пані Катерина Немченко задала Брайану Фоґелю 2 питання. Перше питання було, яким чином складалося його, друге питання, перепрошую, було, яким чином складався його шлях від актора до режисера. І перше питання було, це було питання про пораду, було прохання про пораду, яким чином актору-початковцю краще розпочинати свій шлях у цій кар'єрі. На що пан Фоґель відповів, що, звичайно, це досить складний шлях, але якщо є мрія, то завжди є сенс намагатися цю мрію довести до реальності, і він наводив приклади про те, що можна розпочинати з будь-яких видів діяльності, створювати відео у Ютубі, коротенькі фільми, грати у аматорському театрі і так далі. Саме робити те, що може бути побачено публікою. І неодноразово він казав про своє захоплення шляхом нашого шановного президента, який його вражає, який його надихає. Коли Браян Фоґель згадував про життєвий шлях нашого шановного президента, він казав, що всі його друзі Браяна Фоґеля кажуть з гордістю про те, що вони мали честь брати участь у певних проєктах, де також брав участь наш президент. І це наразі складається кількість цих проєктів 10 фільмів. І також пан Фоґель відповів, що, напевно, є сенс бути біля великих міст, тому що саме кінематографічна індустрія має найбільший розвиток у таких містах. І якщо пані Катерина знаходиться наразі не в Україні, то він дуже радить Лондон як центр акторської кінематографічної діяльності, і також каже про шанси, які великі шанси, які є у українських акторів-початківців, якщо вони дуже добре володіють англійською мовою. Ну і, звичайно, з приводу питання щодо шляху до режисерства, пан Фоґель відповідає, що він мав свободу, він мав власний контроль, він міг писати і створювати той матеріал, творчий матеріал, який він хотів для себе. Він працював у період, коли було вирішено, що він стане режисером у театрі, це було протягом 3-4 років. І він казав про те, що на відміну від акторської діяльності, режисерська діяльність надала йому велике відчуття творчого контролю. Він не повинен був сидіти у черзі на прослуховування, він мог створювати для себе різні творчі проекти. Він був сам керівником свого творчого шляху. І також неодноразово він наводить як приклад, як модель поведінки творчий шлях, професійний шлях нашого шановного президента і радить усім нашим каразінцям повторювати цей шлях, тому що саме спочатку, саме самостійна діяльність, творча діяльність, насолода своєю діяльністю і свобода, яку завжди демонстрував наш президент від акторського шляху до його політичної кар'єри, це може бути за модель для нашої каразінської спільноти, тому що він нічого не очікував і всього домагався добиватися сам. Таким чином, ми можемо сказати, що це творчий контроль і бажання бути вільним. Те, що радить Браян Фоґель нашим шановним студентам. Дуже прошу. Thank you so much, dear Brian. Можливо, наступні запитання. Пані Марія Кондратюк. Будь ласка.
Yes. Dear Mr. Brian, I'm incredibly excited to and thankful to meet you today and for your support of our country. I really admire people who create whole new worlds and connect different parts of the world and spread the message of art. So filmmaking is my life in different ways, and I'm actually planning to become a director as I'm currently writing my own script and my book right now. So my first question is, what is, in your opinion, the best way to build your professional skill and develop your intuition? Because I believe that that gut feeling that leads you in the creative pursuits is one of the most important things, and it has helped me very much in my own journey. And the second question of mine is quite simple. So what impressed you the most when you was in Ukraine? Thank you very much.
So your first question is tell me again what I would recommend that you do.
Yes, like what is the best way to develop your professional skill and your artistic intuition?
Well, I think the best way is to work on it. And when I mean that, it's whatever opportunity that you're going to have to do work. For me, that became just not waiting for other people to help me. So if you're writing and you're working on your own material, or if you want to direct, what you're doing is exactly right. I mean, you have to create material for yourself and create material for you to be a part of. I think so many times in creative pursuits, people will wait for others to do things for them rather than to go and do it for themselves. And so, you know, if you want to be a writer, an author, an actor, a director, a musician, a dancer, you name it, anything, I think in the creative pursuit, I think you have to create opportunities for yourself to do that, for other people to be able to see your work. So, you know, my advice is to not wait for others to help you, but to create those opportunities yourself. The success or the projects that I've had in my life, every single one of them was not from, you know, from someone coming to me and saying, "Hey, Brian, would you like to do this?" It was me setting forth with an idea and then figuring out a way to go and make it happen and have it become real. So I'd encourage you to keep doing that and not get discouraged or get caught up on the result of what might be a perceived failure. Rather, you know, just stay focused on what that journey is, to try to create something. You know, that would be my my best advice to you. What was the second part of your question?
What impressed you the most in Ukraine when you was here?
Well, you know, I tell you, it was surreal when I came to Kyiv. I took the train from Poland and from I believe you pronounce it Chelm.
Yes.
And I took the overnight train, which I found to be, you know, it was safe. It also was a little bit scary because they made us black out the train, and there were multiple times for like border control. At one point, we got stopped on the train and was there for about 3 hours, I guess, as they checked everyone's passport. But it was surprising to me how life in Kyiv at the time felt so normal, yet war was going on, and everyone seemed to be carrying on with their normal life. You know, I love the food in Ukraine, and Kyiv is pretty amazing. People are great. You know, the city is beautiful, and very hard to realize it's so much conflict and suffering was going on. I know that where you live in Kharkov has not been as fortunate as Kyiv in regards to the shelling and attacks and what has happened in your city. So, but you know, when I was there, I was very struck by the optimism. I felt that everyone that I talked to, you know, was very set on however long the war took. Nobody felt that they really wanted to leave the country. And I asked so many people, you know, why they were staying, and almost everyone I spoke to, you know, told me they were staying because this is their home, and they want to support Ukraine. So yeah, I had a very good experience, and it would be my hope if President Zelensky were to invite me back, I would come back, you know, immediately to make the film that I wanted to make if they were able, the president's office, to allow me to do that.
Yeah, thank you very much for your answer and the advice. And I'm really looking forward to see your film in the future.
Dear
Me
Brian,
too.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for your questions. If you kindly permit, I'll try to be quick and render the content. Шановна каразінська спільнота, було задано 2 запитання. Перше запитання щодо того, як краще розвити свій творчий потенціал, як краще розвити акторську та режисерську особистість у собі. І також друге запитання, що найбільше вразило пана Фоґеля, коли він приїжджав до України. Брайан незмінно радить працювати над власним матеріалом. Він радить нічого не чекати, він радить створювати свій власний матеріал, тому що у цьому творчому пошуку найкращий матеріал для себе створюємо ми самі. І, як каже пан Фоґель, найкращі проєкти і найбільш успішні проєкти, що він мав у своєму житті, це були саме ті проєкти, які він створював сам для себе, нікого не очікуючи і не очікуючи можливостей, що нададуть інші. Тому така його відповідь була на перше запитання: займатися власним творчим пошуком і спробувати бути самостійним у цій творчій діяльності. З приводу другого запитання, іншого запитання, він згадує, звичайно, декілька моментів, які його вразили. По-перше, він згадує свою подорож з Польщі до України потягом. Вони їхали без світла. Прикордонний контроль займав майже 3 години. Усіх, звичайно, перевіряли документи, але його одразу ж, навіть ще з потягу, вразила наша країна, його вразив стоїцизм людей, його вразив їх оптимізм і їх боротьба за нашу свободу. Він мав досвід перебування у Києві. Коли він прибув до Києва, його вразило те, що люди намагалися, виборюючи свободу, жити нормальним життям, продовжуючи розвивати свою країну. Звичайно, як каже Брайан, і ми це з вами всі знаємо, що Харкову було дуже важко весь цей період, але він продовжує казати про те, як його вражає мужність, як його вражає стоїцизм харків'ян, зокрема каразінців. І, звичайно, якщо будуть створені умови для того, щоб він міг продовжити свою кінематографічну діяльність і зробити той самий фільм, а саме, якщо будуть технічні умови для того, щоб це можна було зробити, наразі у нашій країні перше, що він зробить, це він повернеться до цієї діяльності і одразу її закінчить, бо вона його дуже-дуже надихає, він сподівається продовжити і таки завершити свій фільм про нашу країну. Дуже дякую за ваше запитання. Thank you very much for your answer. Can I please invite Professor Starodubtseva Lidia Vladimirovna, Chair in Media Communications, Василь Каразів, Kharkiv National University. Лідія Володимирівна, це честь для нас. Будь ласка, якщо ви дозволите запросити вас до запитання.
Thank you very much for your very short and very beautiful and excellent and brilliant presentation. And thank you for your creativity in filmmaking and for your activity in helping for Ukraine. And I'm, as Alina said, as you can see, I'm not a student. I'm a teacher in sociology school in our beautiful university, and we have a media and communication department where we can to make films, and we have some disciplines in filmmaking, in storytelling and script writing. That's why I have 2 questions, very complicated, and my English is so terrible. And
your English is good.
Unfortunately, it will be in Ukraine, and I will ask dear Alina to translate it. The first, перше питання. Це теоретичне питання про процес створення документального фільму. Я сама є авторкою серії документальних коротких фільмів, короткі метри, і тому в мене питання. Наскільки суб'єктивний погляд режисера, наскільки фільм може бути об'єктивним, бо і на стадії препродакшену ми пишемо сценарії, ми якусь свою позицію гражданську, громадську, політичну ми вже закладаємо в кіно. Так? По-друге, на стадії продакшену ми так вибираємо ракурси героїв і так з ними поводимося, що вони теж ніби висловлюють нам нашу точку зору. Так? І третє, на стадії постпродакшену це дуже легко маніпулювати нами, там додавати звуки, монтаж, корекція, і це теж суб'єктивно. І ось моє перше питання, як вбачає шановний Брайан, чи можливе правдиве документальне кіно? Чи воно обов'язково суб'єктивне і несе ось цей відбиток режисерської волі і задуму? А потім буде друге.
Дуже дякую, шановна Лідія Володимировна. Якщо ви дозволите, я буду намагатися якнайкраще перекласти ваше запитання. Dear Brian, our dear chair in Media Communications Department, Professor Lydia Stradupsova, is inquiring about a very intricate, I would say, as she names it, sophisticated question as for the creation of a documentary film. And the essence of this question is if a documentary film can utterly be objective by its nature, in its essence. Lydia Vladimirovna speaks about the subjectivity that seems to be accompanying the creation of a documentary film at all the stages of its actually production. Yeah, so we've got the first process. It's like the conceptualization of a documentary film, and it is largely subjective because it reflects the position of the director. Moreover, at the production stage, well, this subjectivity seems to be also largely coloring the movie because we choose the position, the angles, yeah, the camera, the shot. Post-production stage seems to be also largely quite subjective because we add the sound, the cutting, and all of that leads to a certain degree of subjectivity in the production of a film. So in your view, in your vision, can a director, because Lydia Vladimirovna has already made several documentary short films, a series of those, and she really wishes to see your opinion about that. Can it be utterly objective, or invariably, whatever process is applied, a documentary film is inevitably colored by a certain degree of director's subjectivity?
Well,
thank you so much.
That's a good question. I think the answer is both yes and no, which is I can't speak to others, but for myself, if I'm setting out on a project, right, to make a film about something, then I generally have a point of view or an objective. So, you know, if I look at the making of The Dissident, right, I was very upset about the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. I was passionate about human rights and freedom of speech. I was upset at the notion that a journalist could walk into his own embassy, his own consulate, to get marriage documents and be murdered by his own country. I was upset by the lack of what I viewed as human rights, female rights, freedom of speech. You know, so many of those issues that have come to the forefront in Saudi Arabia, but also in other countries, and women's rights as well. And so, yes, when I set out to make a film, I have a point of view, and I think if you don't, you know, it's very hard to be completely subjective, right? When in making Icarus, I didn't know when I began the film that I was going to uncover this decades-long Russian doping scandal, that Russia had cheated, you know, basically all the Olympics over decades. But what I did believe was that the system in sport, the testing system in sport, was broken. And that belief led me down to a path of a much larger scandal and story. So I think that it's rather impossible for a filmmaker to not have a point of view, because that point of view largely becomes the basis for the film. I think the question is how do you maintain a level of neutrality? And again, I think that that is hard to do because you have to have a point of view. So, you know, even in the making of the last film I did, Icarus Aftermath, we followed Gregory Rodchenkov, the scientist who brought the scandal forward for 4.5 years while he was living in hiding in the United States. And while I was completely objective, I didn't have a agenda, but what I was showing was this is the cost of being a whistleblower. Here's evidence that Putin is hunting him, and here are the facts. And so I think, you know, if you're remaining true to the facts of the storytelling, it's okay to not be neutral. You know, I don't believe that there can be a pure neutrality in film, because the flip side of that, right? Let's say if I was making a film of The Dissident from the Saudi Arabian perspective, right, or from the perspective of Mohammed bin Salman, well, they would have told me, regardless of whether it was true, was that, you know, Jamal Khashoggi was dissenting against his country. He was spreading lies about the kingdom. He was working for Qatar. He was trying to create problems within his country, etc., etc. They would tell me that they didn't kill him, that it was an accident. I mean, so in any story, there's always going to be two sides of that story. And a filmmaker generally has to choose that side, and then I think do everything they can to support the truth with facts, but with an objective. Now, I believe that there is documentary filmmaking that doesn't necessarily need to have any sort of objective. If you're making a film, for example, about someone's life, well, you know, their life is their life. However, how you paint that portrait of them ultimately becomes subjective, and certainly has somewhat of an opinion depending on the facts that you put in or the facts that you leave out. So, you know, I agree with you that it is very hard to keep neutrality. But on the other hand, I think that that is the most powerful form of filmmaking, because if you don't have an objective as to what you're setting out to make and why you're making it, then the question is why are you making it? I mean, you have to have some sort of an objective, even if it's you're making a film about nature, right? You have to have a belief that either it's beautiful or it's not, or you love the mountains or you don't, otherwise, I think a film becomes lost.
Thank you
Thank you very much for your answer. Якщо ви дозволите,
Another question, maybe a second question, and then translation. Maybe так. Yes. Так, друге питання стосується практики. Я не дуже люблю просто щоб ця розмова була відкритою, незавершеною. Я будь-яку розмову хотіла б завершити якимсь практичним проєктом, пропозицією, і тому я вже придумала зараз 3 варіанти вирішення якоїсь практичного продовження нашої зустрічі. По-перше, наші студенти проходять такі курси, дуже цікаві. Історія кіно, теорія кіно, відеопродакшн, пітчинг проєктів документальних. І перша пропозиція, якщо б Брайан надав згоду, просто зустрітися з нашими студентами, тут деякі присутні, я бачу Аліну, Катерину, Дар'ю, і просто провести якийсь практичний майстер-клас, ми покажемо свої роботи, і просто щоб ви, як експерт, розповіли, що погане, що гарне, що, якісь практичні поради. Це перший напрям. Другий напрям, ми проводимо кожного року такий фестиваль One Film, One Shot. Один кадр, один фільм. Він знімається одним кадром, без жодної монтажної склейки. І у нас вже за 7 років набралося багато фільмів, і можна відібрати з кожного року такі коротенькі фільми. І ми дуже хотіли б просто, щоб хтось подивився на ці фільми з професійної точки зору в Америці. Може, такі схожі є проєкти конкурсні в Америці, і ми хотіли б просто зробити таку презентацію цих робіт з обговоренням, з таким публічним обговоренням цих робіт. Це, як на мене, прекрасна така пропозиція. Що скаже Брайан, не знаю. І третя практична пропозиція, взагалі утопічна. Брайан казав, що він вже почав знімати кіно документальне про Україну. У нас є медіастудія в Каразінському університеті, у нас є креативні, талановиті, а іноді геніальні студенти. Чи можемо ми взяти участь у цьому фільмі у будь-якому варіанті співпраці? Це не така кооперація, а ми можемо просто носити каву, триподи там переміщувати, допомагати монтувати, писати, все що завгодно. Просто такий досвід кооперації. Чи це можливо? Ми хотіли б взяти участь в цьому проєкті і побачити завершений фільм про Україну. Ось таке довге питання, вибачаюся, що так довго вийшло. Дякую.
Lydia Volodymyrівна, thank you for your genial questions. I will try to do my best. Дуже дякую за ваші геніальні запитання і пропозиції. Я буду намагатися все перекласти як слід. Дуже дякую вам. Dear Brian, Professor Stradubtseva has a second question of more applied nature, and she is a person who always wishes to have some practical output from any project that she begins, and she has already come up after your question about how we are doing, what can potentially be done, how can future collaboration with the university can be shaped, and whatever. Professor Stradubtseva has come up with 3 practical applications of our today's meeting. If you kindly permit, I will translate what she said. She talked about the courses that Karazin University Media Communication Department students pursue, like the history of cinematography, the theory of cinematography, video production, movie making, and many, many others. These are the courses that they actually learn. And she was wondering if in the future, maybe you would kindly permit to have a little workshop together with them. They will present their works, they do them constantly, and you, as a big expert, as a big professional, as a person with great mind and vision, probably could give your critical opinion on those works. Secondly, second proposition was the following idea. The Media Communication Department, the School of Sociology, they organize a festival, a movie festival, where they present, entitled One Film, One Shot, where they present the movies which are made whatsoever without cutting. It's like a non-stop shot film. So they could present a number of films that have already been done, so that probably in America, there also exists such a project and such kind of festivals that you are aware of. And maybe it could be like a joint event where the presentations and the subsequent discussion of such films could be made possible, so that such people like you, with your great vision and great experience in the profession and great experience in creative work and fantastic creative input into the cinematography of the world, could give your opinion, could share your opinion kindly with the eager young minds of our Karazinites of Media Communication Department. And the third proposition that was made was the following. In Kharkiv, in our Vasil Karazin Kharkiv National University, we have a media studio. And Lydia Vladimirovna and her students and many of the Karazinites, brave, courageous Karazinites who are right now in Kharkiv and work, like Pani Victoria, like Pan Maxim, work in this studio and courageously organize all these events. And the students of Lydia Vladimirovna, they are absolutely ready to take whatsoever part possible if you kindly decide to come to Kharkiv and to continue your work. You're so welcome. We are ready to bring coffee. We are ready to do the cutting. We are ready to bring chairs and do every sort of technical work if we become privileged by your visit in terms of any technical help that we can possibly give in Kharkiv in our media communication studio. So those were the propositions that Lydia Vladimirovna voiced, and I am honored to translate them for you. Dear Lydia Vladimirovna, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dear Brian,
Thank you for you.
probably you would.
Well, that's a lot. I think the first question or ask is, would I review work that students in the class are doing? Is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
Yes, yes.
Like in terms maybe of a workshop or whatever format you find convenient and possible and appropriate.
Okay. I would assume that most of the work is being done in Ukrainian, correct?
Шановна пані Лідія Володимирівна, Брайан питає, чи дійсно так, що більшість фільмів українською робляться?
Українською мовою чи в українських реаліях?
Ні, мається на увазі українською мовою.
Українською мовою? Зараз подумаємо. До цього року у нас була і російська, і українська мова. Зараз виключно українська. Тобто, якщо про мову. Але може, я неправильно зрозуміла питання, бо ось раніше, скажімо, наприклад, я знімала кіно спільне з Радіо Свобода, американською редакцією, фільм про українських військових, про російсько-українську війну. Але там була умова така, фільм російською, і тому він про український патріотичний фільм, але російською мовою, якщо я правильно зрозуміла. Студенти у нас українською мовою озвучують всі фільми. Так.
Лідія Володимирівна, якщо ви дозволите, то спитаю, може пан Брайан також має на увазі те, що чи зможе він розуміти, чи можемо ми запровадити англійський переклад? То ми можемо.
Так.
Якщо буде
у нас
потрібно.
студенти блискуче знають англійську. Так, ми зможемо це зробити.
За потреби ми зможемо перекласти, так?
Так.
Дякую. Dear Brian, Lydia Vladimirovna, if you meant, if I understood you right, if you meant whether the movies were exclusively made in Ukrainian, they were, but we are able to produce the translation so into English, and the students, they can freely speak English. Moreover, in previous years, Pani Starodubtseva collaborated with Svoboda, Radio Svoboda, Freedom Radio, and some of her projects were made both in Russian and Ukrainian, but they were absolutely pro-Ukrainian and meant to, promote our country in the world. But if English translation is necessary, some dubbing, it's totally possible and will be done in a very short term.
Okay. Well, I think if you, if there's a specific film or films that you're wanting me to review, depending on the length, I'm happy to do that and give some input and thoughts on it. The second part was you were asking about a festival of one cut films, correct?
Yeah.
What exactly are you asking me to help with?
Пані Стюарт,
Так,
щодо другого запитання, Лідія Володимирівна, Брайан питає, яка саме допомога з приводу організації фестивалю, або чи є такі у Америці, ну, скажімо так, що саме ви б хотіли робити разом?
Ми б хотіли надалі продовжувати цю традицію проводити фестивалі, запросити тих людей, які в Америці займаються дуже схожими речами, роблять такі короткий метр фільми одним кадром, запросити до участі до нашого фестивалю, ну і поширити dissemination результати нашого конкурсу, бо це дуже цікава ідея, унікальна така. І хотіли б просто зробити презентацію цього фестивалю на якихось площадках і запросити до участі у майбутніх конкурсах американських фільммейкерів. Ось така ідея.
Okay. Dear Brian, so what Professor Straduptuma meant by presenting the festival together, she meant that probably it would be possible to invite people, maybe online, maybe offline in the future, who are involved in the same kind of cinematographic activity in the United States, who produce one short film, and ask them to participate in this festival, meanwhile making a small presentation on whatever platform existing in the United States of this festival, maybe online, just to show their original works, because the idea is totally new, and just to spread the results of this festival in the world, to promote them a little bit, with the idea of inviting the American participants, experts like you in the future, to participate as judges in the activity of the festival, filmmakers, and to make this film festival more international. So just to present.
Well, I think I understand.
Thank you.
If you have a list of a few people that you would be looking to be part of the jury, send that to me and let me see if I can help. I think there could possibly be, and I would just need to see who, but maybe you could get someone like CPH, which is Copenhagen Docs. That's a very big festival on a global level, or Sundance, or I don't know, Toronto. Well, one of these larger festivals maybe would participate or allow some sort of showcase. So that is not my expertise. But if you put together a more detailed list of potential names or people that you would like to reach or something, let me take a look at that and see if I can be helpful.
Все зрозуміло, так. І третє там.
And thank you so much. All is understood. My translation is not needed for Professor Straduptova. She was wondering about the third question, whether we could be of any possible technical help if you ever decide to do something creative, because Kharkiv Vasil Karazin National University is ready to give a platform and to give all sort of secondary technical help you might need with any project of yours. And as far as I understand, this is an official invitation.
Well, thank you. Look, if I you know, the film that I wanted to make with your president was to show the world really behind the story that's being painted in the media. You know, the war in Ukraine is largely being fought in a way, and the public perspective is through, you know, President Zelensky's Facebook and his Instagram and his Telegram and Twitter and through news, but we're not really seeing the behind the scenes story, the decision making, the tactical planning, and what is happening behind closed doors. For me, that would be a very important story to tell, both from a historic perspective, and also would be a very important story to tell, I think, for the president's office and for the world to understand in more detail the war that is going on. So, you know, if down the line the president's office decides that that they'll allow me that access, because what I was asking for was very close access and to be with him and his team and generals during this time, to tell a more bigger and an understanding of what's going on. So if I'm invited back, then I can reach out to the university, because maybe there's some of your students and facilities that could be of help. So I appreciate that, and you know, if I come back to Ukraine, I'll take you up on the offer. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Пані Лідія Володимирівна, чи потрібно перекладати, або все було
Не знаю,
зрозуміло?
мені все зрозуміло,
думаю,
може
що-
для всіх так.
Я думаю, що якщо ви дозволите, я скажу буквально того, що відповів пан Фоґель на останнє запитання. Він, звичайно, радо буде вітати цю можливість, але наразі потрібно, щоб на це був офіційний дозвіл, і він хоче працювати і висвітлювати війну дуже-дуже близько, отримати певний доступ до того, що робиться за закритими дверима. І тому, звичайно, одразу ж, як він отримає цей доступ, він, звичайно, повідомить Лідію Володимирівну і нас, і каразінську спільноту, про те, що він буде поновлювати цю діяльність і, звичайно, із своєю командою буде намагатися показати все, що він вважає дуже важливо показати для міжнародної спільноти також, щоб глибше зануритися у тему і працювати з нашим урядом. Але наразі він чекає на цю можливість. Якщо вона буде, якщо це запрошення буде, він одразу ж його прийме і буде подовжувати свою діяльність. Щодо минулих запитань, попередніх запитань, то, звичайно, Брайан просить, щоб йому надали детальний список тих фігур і людей, які повинні і потрібні для розвитку фестивалю, і він, звичайно, буде намагатися війти з ними у контакт. Він пропонує декілька фестивалів у Копенгагені і у Торонто, які можуть стати ширшою площадкою для нашого каразінського фестивалю. І, звичайно, дає свою згоду на те, щоб продивитися роботи, які пропонувалися Лідією Володимирівною у першому запитанні, і якщо вони будуть йому надіслані, він, звичайно, їх проаналізує і буде їх творчо коментувати і надавати відповідні такі цінні поради. Тому ось приблизно така відповідь. Дякую вам дуже. We've got some more people on our list. Марта, you're welcome, our constant guest. Марта, дуже дякуємо. Спасибі, Лідія Володимирівна, за ваші безцінні запитання щодо розвитку нашого університету і, зокрема, його кінематографічної складової. Марта, прошу вас, доєднуйтесь.
Hello, thank you very much. This is just an amazing opportunity. I study foreign languages, but I also like really into filmmaking, and I made like one documentary, and then I mostly write like scripts. And I just was wondering, since you started like with comedy, and then you made it like to like some dramatic and like dark and really like strong films, documentary films. I mean, why did you make such a change? And like, what do you prefer? More like some comedy or maybe something more dramatic? And why why are you so like attracted to like people who like really fighting like against the system, like fighting against like injustice? And yeah, I think like those questions, yeah, if it's okay.
Спасибі,
Well,
Марта. Brian, would you
I
please?
still, I mean, I enjoy comedy. I enjoy all sorts of filmmaking and entertainment and creativity. I saw this wonderful Bollywood Indian film the other night called RRR that you should all see. It's really wonderfully done. But over the last several years, I've found myself more drawn to telling stories that I think can have a bigger impact in the world. And with Icarus and that journey, I became, involved in understanding, Putin's Russia, and became passionate about wanting to tell stories about that. And, trying to use my skills to shine light into stories that need to be told. But I love all sorts of story making, and if a project came to me that was a comedy or was something else that I was passionate about, I'd certainly consider or look at it. So I don't go, oh, I only want to do this or I only want to do that. It's just where things have led for me over the last I guess 5 or 6 years. But I'm open to all sorts of creative journeys, but just found that recently in this part of my life and career, I've been able to take on subject matter that's interesting to me, and that hopefully can have a bigger voice and shine some light into the world and help people understand things that I am passionate about.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Дуже дякуємо за ваше запитання, Марта. Dear Brian, we thank you for your answer. If you permit, I will shortly summarize. Шановна каразінська спільнота, якщо ви дозволите, я дуже швидко надам самері того, що відповів пан Фогель, а також додам трошки про перше запитання, яке задавала Лідія Володимирівна щодо суб'єктивізму та об'єктивізму у позиції режисера. На відповідь, як на запитання Марти, у якості відповіді на запитання Марти, Браян Фоґель відповів, що він захоплюється будь-яким наративом, будь-якими історіями, він створює ці фільми, захоплюючись чимось, до чого в нього є пристрасть, і взагалі-то за мету він завжди має розкрити щось і зробити очевидним щось, що було досі не очевидно для міжнародної кінематографічної спільноти і взагалі для світу. Тому він шукає такі історії, які його надихають, і створює фільми, зазвичай, які мають продовженням розкриття цих сюжетів. І також дуже важливим моментом, на якому наголосила Лідія Володимирівна, щодо суб'єктивізму, Браян вважає, що зазвичай режисер завжди повинен мати відправну точку, і це точка зору режисера, коли він починає певний проєкт, він повинен мати ідею і взагалі мати мету. Це є вже суб'єктивізм, він повинен створювати фільм про те, у що він вірить. Але коли він його створює, він зазвичай, якщо це документальне кіно, він повинен спиратися на об'єктивні дані. І якщо об'єктивних даних немає, то тоді, звичайно, фільму не має бути. Але якщо вони є, то він не вбачає це негативним моментом при створенні кіно. Тобто режисерська думка, режисерська авторська думка повинна бути доведена, і якщо є ідея, то це позитивний суб'єктивізм. Також він казав про те, що існує декілька стрічок, які він знає, документальних, які, зокрема, викривали чиїсь механізми обману, і там дуже було психологічних кінострічок, там було дуже важко відшукати об'єктивні дані. Але, в принципі, він не вважає, що суб'єктивізм, як режисерська позиція, якщо він заснований на реальних фактах і показує позицію режисера, що це є негативним моментом. Перепрошую, що я трошки пізніше надала самері цього запитання і відповіді на нього. Дуже дякую. Thank you, dear Brian. I would like to welcome Шушляпіна Анастасія. Пані Анастасія, будь ласка, the floor is all yours. Would you please go on with your question? I see your hand. Бачу вашу руку.
Yeah, hello, Brian. My name is Anastasia, and excuse me, my English is not very good, but thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, share your thoughts, and listen to ours. I want to say that the fact that you are with us now is inspiring, it motivates, and this is very invaluable support. And I have no doubt that victory is close, very close, and our common victory. And I want to ask you, as a successful person from whom I would like to take an example, and what inspires you? Where do you get the motivation to act?
What inspires me? I don't know. That changes, I think, all the time. But I generally am inspired by, you know, I think life is very beautiful and incredible. I have a lot of, you know, I feel blessed to be alive most days, and so I think I'm inspired or take motivation if I can do things that I think is of service or helpful to others, even if sometimes that's hard. I don't really have a set thing or one thing or the other that inspires me or motivates me, other than you know, I in work I enjoy making film when I'm able to do that, and enjoy telling stories that I think people, if able to, are able to watch. But I guess what inspires me, or I take joy from, is trying to be good to others, be kind to others, and try to make the world a little bit better place. I don't know exactly what that means, but you know, certainly what's going on in your country right now is not right. I mean, no one should have to wake up to war, or the fear of war, or the fear of having your home destroyed, or your loved ones lost, or killed, or fighting simply to live, to have freedom. No, I don't think that anyone should have to do that. I don't think that there's much purpose in it. And what we know about war, and when we look back on it, is it always feels that it didn't need to happen. So, you know, I'm passionate now about, you know, trying to stay engaged in what's happening in your country, and if there's a way that I'm able to bring any sort of small help or change, that makes me happy to do that. You know, I think it's probably very hard for most of humans living on this planet to understand what war is like. And certainly when I was in Ukraine and got to see so much of the damage, or even the day that I was there, when a missile hit, you know, 500 meters from where I was sleeping, that killed a few different people. You know, that was it's terrible. So I guess what I'm most passionate about is seeing if there's a way to stop this insanity. And sadly, you know, Ukraine is not at fault. You know, you guys have been attacked, and it's not that, you know, everyone there is a victim of this war, because I'm sure that all of you just want to live a peaceful, creative life and go about your lives like they were until a year ago. So I hope that can happen soon. I really do.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Dear Brian, thank you so much. If you kindly permit, I will quickly summarize your answer. Дуже дякую вам, будь ласка, пані Анастасія, за ваше запитання. Запитання було, як на мій погляд, абсолютно чудове. Запитання було з приводу того, що вдохновляє, що надихає, що мотивує, що є надихаючим чинником для пана Фоґеля. І Брайан відповів, що життя по собі прекрасне. Він, в принципі, щасливий тим, що він живе, і якщо він може хоч якимось чином допомогти, будучи тим, ким він є, допомогти нам, каразінській шановній спільноті, допомогти українцям, іншим людям, в принципі, усім, хто потребує будь-якої допомоги. Йому дуже подобається робити для людей, щось робити для людей, те, що він спроможний зробити у своїй роботі і, в принципі, у своєму людському житті. Це абсолютно варварська ситуація, яка коїться з нашою країною. Брайан каже про це неодноразово. Він мав змогу відчути це на собі, коли за 500 метрів від того місця, де він перебував у Києві, була ракетна атака і загинули люди. Він все це бачив, він відчув все на собі, і тому він, звичайно, хоче принести свою певну лепту, свою маленьку допомогу до наближення миру, до наближення нашої перемоги, і для того, щоб зупинити цю варварську війну, коли Україна була абсолютно варварськи атакована. Про це він каже неодноразово. І щоб в Україні знов панувало мирне життя, мирне вільне життя. І якщо ви дозволите, шановні студенти, шановні колеги, то я б переклала до цього запитання до пана Брайана буквально 2 речення від себе, тому що коли я починала писати ці листи людям, які б могли прийти і поговорити зі студентами рідного університету, який нас зробив людьми, тими, хто ми є. Браян Фоґель був саме одним з перших, хто відгукнувся. І протягом цього листування, яке тривало майже 2 місяці, я можу сказати, що я відчувала себе абсолютно на рівних. Тобто це людина, великий режисер, людина світу. І я, звичайно, викладач. Але жодним чином, у жодному моменті своїх відповідей до мене нічого, крім величезної поваги, бажання допомогти і великих моментів, які мене надихали, я нічого іншого не відчувала. Тобто це, можу сказати, просто неймовірна людина. Dear Brian, with your kind permission, I translated what you said and just added a couple of lines from myself, what I felt while you were corresponding with me, and how you were the one who inspired me. Because your answer, the answer to my letter that was one of the first ones, the way you spoke to me, you are a great film director, a great person of the world. I was just an ordinary teacher. And, you know, I felt so well respected, so valued, you know. I felt much more and much more meaningful than I was while you were communicating with me. I'm grateful to you for that. I'm grateful for your inspiration, for the way you made me feel with your every answer. And when you talked about little help you gave great help, because you were the one who inspired me and who inspired our university largely to have this course of lectures with this initiative Lecture to Victory. So we are amazingly grateful to you for that, me personally, and I will be forever grateful and remembering
it's
that.
my pleasure. You don't need to.
Thank you so much.
You don't need to thank me. I was
Sorry, a little bit too emotional.
Honored to get your message, and more than happy to help and participate. So
Дуже
thank you for
дякую вам
having me.
за це. Thank you so much, dear friends, dear colleagues. Do we have more questions? Шановні колеги, чи ми відпустимо вже пана Брайана?
I have time for
Yeah.
one more, and then I have a meeting I have to get into that starts in about 10 minutes. So I have time for one more question if anyone has one.
Пан Брайан питає, може є ще одне запитання, бо в нього нарада, бо в нього зараз є зустріч. Oh, dear Brian, let me introduce our well-respected Professor Muradan, Dean of the Faculty of Sociology, Олена Сергіївна. It's an honor to be with you today. We welcome your question. Дуже велика честь мати з нами сьогодні декана соціологічного факультету професора Мурадян Олена Сергіївна, незмінний гість і учасник наших зустрічей. Дуже вдячні за це. Це честь для нас. Будь ласка, ваше запитання.
Thank you, dear Lina. Thank you, Brian. It's not about questions. It's first of all, I would like to join for this really big respect and thanks for all your words that we heard and our students heard today. It's really quite important to see from people who support us from abroad that we should move on in our actions, in our plans, and everything that we are doing. But what I have in mind when I was listening you told about your impression about Kiev, about that some kind of normalization, normal life, yes? And I would like to maybe it will be an idea or maybe something that you will think about. I'm a sociologist, and that's I'm staying in Kharkiv during the wartime. And what I'm thinking, I'm feeling, experience myself and see as sociologists how this, not a war, but everyday life under the war becoming some kind of under the normalization process. So this is when it happened, we don't know. For someone after 2 weeks, for someone after 1 year after the war, that nowadays when we have alarm, we don't run to bomb shelters. We know what does it mean, this different kind of danger, etc., etc. But there is some kind of things. What's about normalization of this everyday life under the war, and what is this normalization of violence that are also going on for some people? This society are really, our Ukrainian society are really traumatized, I would like to say, and we will need a lot of look from outside, a lot of products, documentary arts, etc. That's why these kind of lectures are quite important for me. How people see us, how they will present us, how they will represent us in different spheres. So I really hope that you will finish your movie in some way, because yes, you're about documentary movies, but so many things connected to values, to changes values, to different aspects of social life, and especially resistance and life of the universities, big universities, because we experience everything, and damages of our buildings and evacuation of our students, etc. But we actually didn't stop our educational scientific process. For now, when I look back for 1 year at what is going on, and in my mind to see that after 1 year we will have these lectures from people from all over the world who will share their experience or share their impress about us. It was something impossible. We are changing. We normalize our educational scientific life under the war, and we are searching new ways etc., etc. So I really thanks for your participation, and I really hope to see in your future movie this part and this kind of things of this everyday life, not just Kharkiv and Odessa, many cities that live their new life under the war. Thanks.
My pleasure. I hope you know, I wish I could do more, and I can.
I'm sure you will.
Only
you can.
I can only hope that that the war will end soon, and you know, you know, got to also meet and talk to your president on a couple occasions, and I really applaud the job that he's doing. I think it was his destiny. I don't think many other people could have led your country like he has. I believe that had Zelensky not been president, Ukraine might be part of Russia right now. I think that there was a destiny for him that was somebody planned that. So you know, I really hope that your country can find peace soon and rebuilding. I know I believe that most of the world is behind Ukraine. So stay strong, and however I can help, I'm happy to. And thank you for having me.
Dear Brian, thank you so much. Пан Фогель бажає нам перемоги. Він вважає, що це судьбоносне, що наш президент – це саме наш президент Володимир Зеленський, що це його така доля – виборювати нашу свободу. І саме він може це зробити, і Брайан щиро вірить у це, і вірить, що він абсолютно судьбоносна людина для України. Я бачу ще одну руку. Брайан, на жаль, наразі має зустріч, але якщо ви можете, будь ласка, дуже коротко, як Михайло Проценко, будь ласка, може слова подяки, щоб ми відпустили Брайана і він встиг на зустріч. Бачу, Михайло Проценко.
Дякуємо дуже.
Дякую, дуже прошу вас, це велика честь мати вас з нами.
Вельми шановному нашому гостю. У мене було коротке дуже питання, може Брайан ще встигне відповісти на нього. Яким він бачив все ж таки майбутнє кіно, враховуючи розвиток сучасних технологій, в тому числі і мобільної зйомки та штучного інтелекту?
Dear Brian, we know you have a meeting right now. That was just the final word, if you permit. Dear Professor Prochenko asks you about the future. Maybe you could just answer with one word. Yeah, the future of cinematography, being largely digitalized or not. Maybe it's mobile shoot, maybe it's something else. If you have an association with the future of that, probably something very short. We know you're supposed to go. What do
you mean? What do you mean exactly by the future of cinematography? A little confused by your question.
Просить конкретизувати, якщо це можливо, що саме мається на увазі під майбутнім або дигітальним майбутнім, трошки конкретизувати, якщо це можливо.
Maybe Mikhailo Prochenko means that it will transformate according to the new digital technologies, 3D animation, graphics, and of course according to artificial intelligence, because it can change the role of actors, also a role of producers, and so on. And so we're very interested about your thinking about it.
I don't, you know, look, it's constantly evolving. I'm so surprised. I think the things that can be done and are being done, and the line between what is real and what is fake, or what has been created without even filming something. So I don't think any of us know exactly right now, but certainly all of these technologies are exciting. I mean, and I guess I guess it's undetermined where entertainment is heading, but I think what we're seeing is that, and this has been the case for a very long time, is many more people around the world have access to technologies to create and do things than they used to, and so many things that used to require a lot of equipment or expense can now be done for a lot less. So I think that's good for creativity around the world, because I don't think any of us can stop technology, and if we just have to evolve and progress with it, and see how best to use it.
Thank you, dear Brian.
But
Не хочеться
thank you all
затримати.
for having me.
Thank you very much.
And Alina, you're welcome to follow up with me as far as the festival or viewing some films, and be my pleasure to follow up with all of you. And thanks for having me, and have a good night and get some rest, and see you all again.
Thank you, dear Brian. Thank you. Thank you for everything. For the first moment when I got your email. God bless you for helping our country and everything,
too.
who you are. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Our pleasure.